coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Happy Hour podcast. Of course, I'm Ray. Matt's here with me tonight, and we were actually just joking a little bit about our beer. Like, if you look how long the shaft is on the neck of this bottle, like
it's,
it has a very long shaft on this bottle, and
it's a neck. It's called the neck.
Whatever.
Okay.
So
I was just more how it's thicker at the
how
bottom.
It's thicker at the bottom.
Yeah, I was like,
well, I said I was like, I could probably take this bottle to about here, and Matt was like, I could take the whole thing, and he's like, oh, you meant like deep throaty. He's like, I was talking about in my ass, but no, like I had to fight these things out of the fucking fridge at the liquor store. Like, they were so high I couldn't like pull them straight off the shelf. I had to move the ones next to them, tilt them sideways, and then pull them out. So we'll probably get back into this later, but our beer right now is Victoria, and it is Cerveceria Modelo Mexico. So I'm guessing this is made by Modelo. I'm not sure. Visit victoriabeer.com for questions. So I have a lot of questions. Why is the neck of your beer so long?
Why is it so thick at the bottom?
Why is it so long and crispy? And of course, tonight we're debuting a new segment. Of course, last week we started the Happy Hour Pod Trivia. So we're going to start a new segment called Cooking with Ray in the Multiverse. So a lot of people are interested on what that is. So pretty much what happened is 2 weeks ago, I was wasted drunk on Four Loko, and you know what happens with Four Loko. Like, I ended up in a different dimension. I ended up meeting myself on Earth 313. And, you know, like all these photos just came out, seeing the universe, you know, clear as day. And, you know, it was somewhere way far off in a different galaxy, universe, whatever. And I ran into myself, but not only was I a chef, but I was also crippled. So, and, you know, though, no, actually, that's the gimmick. That's not what really happened. We have a good friend. I have a good friend from he was in EWA. He was a manager. He's handicapped. And pretty much what he does is he posts these weird ass fucking, you know, what is it? These weird delicacies that he makes for himself. And I'm talking about like, it's the kind of shit like you ever see on like Facebook or wherever, like people put like cheese on top of like a Pop-Tart or some shit like that, like weird shit.
That is definitely weird.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd ever eat a Pop-Tart with fucking cheese on it.
It kind of,
if I was stoned, yeah, but
it kind of took off to the point to where a lot of the local guys, shout out to Jason Drake and Desert Storm, you know, I commented on the post because we always comment on it. We always laugh. We're always like, what the fuck is that? And he always says, Cooking with Ray, what is this? And everybody's like, what the fuck is that? What does that look like? And it's hilarious. And I was like, this should be a Netflix series. And then they basically added me and they're like, come on, Ray, you know, do it on the podcast. You know, make it happen, blah, blah, blah. It's not another show. We're going to bring that to you tonight and we're going to see how that goes. It could end up going down in a heap of fire, or it could end up being a gem, but those segments we're going to exclusively do on our TikTok. Make sure you follow us on the TikTok. I personally hate TikTok. I don't know how to use TikTok. So we're going to do whatever we can to the best of our ability to get you content on TikTok as well. But that will be an exclusive thing that will always, every week, be updated onto our TikTok. And if it goes wrong, we're just going to blame our crippled friend. That's just the way it's going to work. Maybe if you were crippled, this would have worked.
Handicaps, like, just can't catch a break.
Yeah. Like, I mean, but no, he's a good dude. I like Ray a lot. You know, he was born with a rare, like, you know, I forgot what it is he has, but it's like some sort of degenerative disorder. And they didn't think he was
going to like Stephen Hawking's like type. Like,
I don't know. Like, he can talk and he has a little bit of movement with his hands. Like, I will give him credit. They did a spot in wrestling, which is one of my favorite spots that I've ever seen. Shout out to TJ Sykes. He was a heel at the time. And basically they did the thing where they threw him in the ring and he was in a regular wheelchair. And TJ Sykes is talking a bunch of shit to him. So Ray sits there and he sits there, puts his hands down and all that, and he goes, and it looks like he's going to stand up. And the second he goes to push himself up with his arms, super kick, boom, and he just fucking falls back in the chair. And the crowd's like, oh, and I'm like, I wish I could have done something like that as a heel. And that's by far one of my favorite indie wrestling happenings that went down was that moment right there.
I want to ask why that would be your favorite moment out of all moments that you've done, Ray.
Here's
that would have been one of your favorites.
Well, yeah, I didn't get to do it though, so I'm jealous. I'm envious of that, because I didn't get to do that amount of heat, like that heat coming off of kicking a crippled guy.
That's a lot.
Like
that's a lot. Yeah.
But his wrestling name was Ray C. Hawkins. So Ray.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it kind of ties in with that, and he, Blood. He managed Blood. He managed Blood and John Berg. They were part of the Oddball Army. So pretty much they were part of the Oddball Army. And they all wore army stuff. And Blood and John Berg, mind you, Blood was probably about like 270. John Berg was probably about like 260, 270. They built this big wooden like ring, like kind of like you ever see WrestleMania 3 when they came down on the motorized ring. They built like a ring like that. And they hooked it to the back of his motorized wheelchair. And that was their entrance. They had him like motorize them out onto the back of it. I think they only did a few shows because I think the ring ended up being broken, but I was like, how did that chair survive that? Because that was pulling a lot of beef at that point in time, a lot of beef.
That's pretty cool though. I'd pay to see that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah,
sounds exciting.
Imagine that. So so we're going to have that tonight. Also happy hour pod trivia will be back tonight as well. I'm not sure if you guys hear it or not, but my dogs are brutally fighting each other upstairs. Well, not brutally fighting each other, but they're running around like maniacs. This is unfortunately the first show that I have with our new dog, where my wife hasn't been here. She's currently out drinking at the bar while we're here doing the podcast. So they're just upstairs running amok, and I'm probably going to go up there and the whole living room is going to be destroyed, but whatever. It is what it is. And of course, tomorrow we will be live at Hysteria Brewing Company. Of course, Hysteria Brewing Company has been on this show before. They've been on our main show. Fully Fermented is now our local feature show. So we're going to be out at Hysteria Brewing Company. We're going to be trying a lot of samples of the beers that they have. We're going to, be doing all kinds of fun stuff. We're even going to do, and mind you, we're on TikTok now and it's trending on TikTok. I'm going to pick up some tortillas and we're going to do the tortilla slap. So Matt, I'm not sure if you're making it tomorrow, but I know Socrates is coming and we're going to slap each other with tortillas. And what I might do is I may even take my shirt off and have Socrates slap me across the chest to see if it feels like a wrestling chop. So we will be doing that. And dude, with that tortilla stuff, they have like a national like tortilla tortilla slap like tournament or something like that. Yeah, it's crazy. They did it today on 98 Rock. Like 98 Rock, they were like slapping each other with the tortillas and all that stuff. And what I want to do also is that Packy challenge or whatever, or Pocky challenge, whatever it is, that like hot fire chip or whatever. Like we need to do that. Like that would be fun.
I'm not good at hot stuff. I can't.
I'm not good at hot stuff either. But it would be hilarious if we did it. Just for the sake of the show and the sake of the millions at home, that watch this program.
Why can't we just do something simple like getting stuck in the dryer challenge, like,
and then being fucked by your son. Like, I'm stuck in the dryer. Oh no, here comes my son. No, but well, it wouldn't be that. You'd be stuck in the dryer, and I'd be like, well, you said you could take the whole neck of this bottle. Let's find out.
I'm gonna be really pissed off if you don't fold the laundry first.
So I hear complete silence. So either both dogs are dead or the house is on fire. So,
well,
but
let it burn.
No, I mean, we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, of course. So we are going to still air some of our old vintage content, which is Fully Fermented Redux, which we're going to air that here and there whenever we get time to. So, yeah. Should have a lot of stuff coming up. Of course, next week we will be back here right here on YouTube Live next week around the same time. Our featured guest is someone that Matt likes a lot, Arietta Adams. So Matt has spent some time.
I might have a secret crush on her.
Yeah.
So when we talk to her on live, like if I'm completely silent, then you guys know why.
Oh yeah. And of course, shout out to our good friend Dave Gilbert. Dave Gilbert. He received his Happy Hour podcast T-shirt, which he posted on social media today. So shout out to him. Go out, buy some of his books. Great fucking guy, absolute awesome guy. Love him. One of our favorite people. He always comes out to all of our events anytime we do, something major. He was part of the HHPod Rumble, but also wasn't a part of the HHPod Rumble all at one time. So because he could not get his audio to work, so he pretty much got the participation trophy for being there, but he couldn't figure it out. So yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff going on. And I think what we may do is we're going to jump in to one of our news articles, which we are, let's see, which one do I want to do? So this, I don't need that. So let's do this one. So this one was one we were going to do a couple weeks ago, and this has been talked about pretty often. It's officials prep for gruesome surprises as Las Vegas lake slowly dries up.
Yes.
So,
I've heard about
we've heard about this. Stories about the long departed Las Vegas organized crime figures are surfacing after a second set of unidentified human remains were revealed as the water levels fall on drought-stricken Lake Mead. And I see, when I first heard Lake Mead, the first thing I thought of was, have you ever drank mead? I was like, oh man, there's a whole lake filled of mead. Like, no wonder why it's drying up, because you have some fat fuck like me drinking all of the mead out of the lake. So, but it says the reservoir on the Colorado River is about 30-minute drive from the mob-founded Las Vegas Strip. There's no telling what we'll find.
Hold on. The Las Vegas Strip was founded by the mob, or
they were founded by the mob. I don't know. We got to do some fact checking. Yeah, we got to get a hold of that Facebook fact checker that no longer exists, and see if that can check some facts for this. So of course, if we were on Facebook Live right now, they would be fact checking us right now, and they'd be sending us all kinds of warnings right now for no apparent reason at all. But it says there's no telling what we'll find in Lake Mead. Former Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman said on Monday. Oscar Goodman, like, that sounds like a good guy. Like, Oscar, I've never once met a bad Oscar and Goodman. Like, it's saying he's a good man.
And he said it's like, not a bad place to talk.
Oh,
never mind.
All right.
You know what?
I recant my statement because
yep. Okay. The mayor did it.
Yeah. It was all the mayor, because Oscar.
Why would you say that?
That's it. It's solved.
First hotel what we'll find in the lake.
In the office.
Could it be any dead bodies? Could it?
In the office, the Scranton Strangler was Oscar. That's who it was. It was Oscar. It says Goodman was a defense attorney who represented mafia figures, including ill-fated Anthony Tony the Ant Saplataro, before serving 3 terms as a martini toting mayor who made public appearances with a showgirl on each arm. Okay. Whoa. All right.
Okay.
Look, we need to get this dude. We need to get this dude on the show. We need to get the Las Vegas mayor on this show, because it sounds like there's a lot going on. This dude's killing people. He's saying it's not a bad place to dump a body. He has showgirls on each arm. And, he has martini, and he's martini toting. He just totes it. I feel like he opens his jacket and there's just martinis just lined up in like the innards of his jacket. And it says he declined to speculate about who might turn up in the vast reservoir formed by the Hoover Dam between Nevada and Arizona. Like he would know. He's like, I'm relatively sure it was not Jimmy Hoffa, he laughed, referring to the former labor boss who disappeared in 1975. But he added that a lot of his former clients seem interested in climate control. Mob speak for the lake level up and the bodies down in their watery graves. All right.
Yeah, the mayor was part of this.
I'm sure the mayor is covering up some shit that went down.
What are you saying? Like, I'm sure they're not going to find Jimmy Hoffa.
They're going to find,
like, dude, are you like telling on yourself?
Yeah,
like what the fuck?
Like as
better just not be present. Like,
sometimes as I read these, I'm like, is this real? Like, are we really reading this right now? Like, I don't understand. So
you know what? I believe it now because of how fucking clown world we live in. Never realized it took fucking 35 some years to figure it out, but we live in this clown world.
Here it is. It says, instead, the world now has climate change, and a result of the surface of the Lake Mead has dropped more than 170 feet since 1983. The lake that slakes the thirst of 40 million people in cities, farms, and tribes across. So we actually consider there's still tribes in the United States, because I thought we just didn't acknowledge the Native Americans at all. You figure that after the genocide, that they were just kind of like, we're just going to move on. But no, it makes sense that they bring up the tribes, because in Las Vegas, a lot of them are owned by Native Americans. So you have to be Native Americans in order to own the casinos. So, but no. So it says, let's see. If the lake goes much farther, it's very possible that we're going to have some very interesting things surface, said Michael Green, a University of Nevada, Las Vegas history professor whose father dealt blackjack for decades at casinos, including Stardust and Showboat. I want to bet the mortgage that we're going to solve who killed Buzzy Siegel, Green said, referring to the infamous gangster who opened the Flamingo Casino. I did not know that.
Why are they dropping all these names? Name dropping. Chill.
Siegel was shot dead in 1947 in Beverly Hills, California, and his assassin was never identified because the mayor killed him and put him in the lake. That's why. But I would be willing to bet that there are going to be a few more bodies, Green said. Last month, the dropping lake levels exposed Las Vegas' uppermost drinking water intake, forcing the regional water authority to switch a deep lake intake into intake completed in 2020 to continue supply casinos. The following weekend, boaters spotted a decomposed body of a man in a rusted barrel stuck in the mud of the newly exposed shoreline. The corpse has not been identified. The Las Vegas police said he had been shot probably between the mid-1970s and early 1980s, according to the shoes found with him. The death was being investigated as a homicide. They also found a lady who was also in a barrel, and they thought that she was in there since the 80s or the 90s based off the clothes that were in there. Like, the body was fully decomposed or whatever. And it's just kind of like, well, holy shit. Like, and then it says on Saturday, two sisters from the Las Vegas suburb of Henderson's were paddleboarding on the lake near a former marina resort and noticed bones on a newly surfaced sandbar. Could you imagine? Oh no, let's see. I'm an idiot. I have mush brain from all the years of wrestling. When I read sandbar, I thought they meant like a bar on the sand, but it's an actual like sandbar. So
right. I know what a sandbar is.
And it says sandbar more than 9 miles from the barrels. Lindsay Melvin, who took photos of their find, said that she thought it was at first a skeleton of a bighorn sheep native to the region. A closer look revealed a human jaw with teeth, and they called the park rangers, and the National Park Service confirmed in a statement that the bones are human. Well, where's the mayor on that? Like, the mayor's sitting there like
they know too much. He had to leave. He was like,
see, I'm so interested in how much of the mob is tied up in all this, because it even says Jeff Schumacher, who, by the way, has his name Jeff. I hate people who spell their name Geoff, and it's Jeff. That's Geoff to me. Geoff Schumacher, vice president of the Mob Museum. So that's actually kind of cool. Like, that's one thing I actually knew that existed. I wanted to go to that when I was in Vegas.
I don't know if I want to go to Vegas now. I've changed my mind.
Oh, stuffing a body in a barrel has been a signature mob hit, said Schumacher, whose museum is in a renovated historic downtown Las Vegas post office and a federal building. So I wonder how much mail from all that shit he found.
Not just like mob, it's fucking the cartel do that shit.
Oh yeah, dude, that's completely insane. And it says he and Green both cited the death of John Handsome Johnny Roselli, a mid-1950s Las Vegas monster who disappeared in 1976. A few days later, his body was found in a steel drum floating off the coast of Miami. So, and I mean, that's the thing too. Like, they used to do that shit where they would like put like concrete blocks
the cinder
on
blocks,
your feet. Like, or they would just put your feet in like a tub of concrete and just throw your ass off of a boat, which was always amazing to me, because it's like, that's heavy. Like, if you can't lift, like, you gotta have two people actually like pick up the bucket. Like, so you have someone that's alive, like tied up, squirming, and you need to pick up this bucket that has their feet in it. It's filled with concrete, and lunge that bitch over the water.
That's really fucked up. I mean, of course I knew all this, but that is really fucked up.
Like, I mean, I I mean, imagine that though. Like you're going down so quick, but you're being like waterboarded and drowned like all at the same time. Like it's literally like, woof, like you just go straight down. Well, I mean, see, that's the thing though. Like when that happens, like how fast would you actually go down? Because I'm sure there's like a lot of pressure from the water. You know, like that's the thing. It's like you can only swim up so fast before you get the bends before it starts fucking with you. Like how fast can you actually go like against like, I guess the push of the water? Like, you know, I would sit there and think that you go like a missile, like straight down when you're in that, but it probably doesn't. Like it probably like takes its time and you're just sitting there. You remember when we played Red Dead Redemption and I would always hog tie the guy and throw him off the side of a mountain and he'd land in the water and we would watch him squirm and drown to death while he was tied up on, you know, with that. I would imagine that it's almost on the same token as that because yeah, dude, I don't know. Like it's yeah. So wow. But what we're gonna do real quick is John Vorhaus is in the room, so we're gonna let him in a little bit and we'll get rocking and rolling with him once he's ready to go. But what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna go ahead and show our ads for this week, which come from some of our friends over at Team Skeet, of course, Bubba Almany and over at Vagabond Sandwich Company. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and run some of our ads and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Charlie Ford and welcome to the Happy Hour podcast.
In a world full of hunger and thirst, one restaurant will attempt to satisfy these cravings forever.
Hello,
Meet
do you
our
need
hero, the cheeseburger, and his salty partner, crab dip tater tots. Together, with local craft beer, they take the fight to hunger. With a special appearance by Cupcake Milkshake, they... Vagabond Sandwich Company. Better making food than making commercials.
There's so many cute girls here. Go talk to them.
I don't know how to talk to these girls.
Here's some pickup lines. Go use them.
All right, I guess I'll give it a whirl. Hey. Hey, good morning. Hey, donut?
Hell yeah, dude. I'm fucking starving. You read my mind.
So, did you ask her out yet?
You're kind of got in the middle of it.
What's up, Penelope?
Hi.
You know, I've been working on this pitch, right? And it wouldn't hurt having one of the office brightest minds tell me what they think.
Mondays, huh?
Yeah. I wanted to talk to you about your performance. Usually, you're one of my star players. And is it that Penelope girl you've been talking about?
Penelope doesn't like you.
Uh-huh, yep.
So you're not even paying attention to me.
Go be the main character of your own story.
Ready to have some fun, huh? You ready?
Why do you have all of your stuff?
Oh, hey, Penelope.
Hi. I hope you are as excited as I am about this presentation. Oh, yes.
Hello, my name is Bubba Almany. I am a bodyguard who has been in the security industry for over a decade. My team and I offer a variety of security services that cover all aspects of security operations. We have secured some of the highest profile clients and largest events in the world. Should your situation require armed protection, we have the ability to carry in all 50 states and U.S. territories. Not only do we have the latest security equipment, we also have world-class training. We look forward to assisting all of your security needs by bringing you the finest and most dedicated security personnel available. From the Office of the President of the United States to local county and state dignitaries, my tactical dignitary protection officers are the tip of the spear in this extremely competitive industry. Let my highly trained staff protect the asset today. We can be contacted via the email and number below. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Daisy Jopling and I am watching the Happy Hour podcast.
All right. So there's our ads for this week. And hey, there's John Vorhaus. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Have I crashed? I don't know if I was allowed in yet.
No, you're fine, man. We always start a little bit early on YouTube Live, just kind of get our juices rolling and talk about some weird stuff before everybody comes on. So how's it going, man? Of course, we're gonna get right into it. You're TV comedy writer, and you have a shit ton of books out. Like, how was it how was it getting into that actually? And then once you were doing
so much easier than it is now, and so much harder than it is now at the same time. I'll give you a snapshot. When I was coming up in sitcom, I could make a phone call, send a script, get invited to pitch, walk into the room, pitch a bunch of ideas, walk out with an episode, walk out with, we'll call your agent.
Okay.
And didn't have particularly good contacts, had a certain amount of hustle, but mostly just pick up the phone, call, access was there. Can't do that now.
Oh, yeah.
There's just walls and walls and walls. On the other hand, if I'm writing a sitcom in Canada or Kathmandu, I can find my way to a producer without ever having to leave my own house.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it's getting harder and harder to get paid.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that because a 20-year wrestling background. So, way back in the day in the 80s and the 90s, they used to sit there and pick up a phone and they would sit there and be like, okay, well, pick up a phone. They would call Vince. They'd be like, hey, Vince, this guy, this big, 7-foot guy with red hair, he looks pretty good, blah, blah, blah. And then Vince would somehow track down our number and call and be like, hey, Texas Red, do you want to come in and blah, 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 do a tryout? Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Next thing you have the Undertaker, and it's also the kind of thing that with independent wrestling, you're a lot of those guys. And I always told guys that when you wrestle locally, make sure you're going to get paid. Like if anything, get gas money, don't drive like 4 or 5 hours and get paid shit, like get paid nothing. Like I would at least be like, all right, well, if you can't give me anything, at least give me gas money. Then that way I can come out, get more exposure, get myself over, but my gas is taken care of. Like, and I mean, it's just completely changed with a lot of stuff now and how people just, and I know from what you said with the hustle, like this whole podcast doing this, it's a big hustle, like getting stuff done, getting, promotion out there, doing all kinds of, whatever you can do to get it out there. And of course, when you brought up, the sitcom stuff, you have a book called the Little Book of Sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And it says hilarity ensues by your name here. So, and then also you have the comic toolbox, the Little Book of Stand Up, and writing for life. I mean, dude, like your books, you have so much in here. And you have the World Series of Murder, like which is funny because that's Surf Las Vegas. We're just talking about our news article. It was about all those bodies that are turning up in Lake Mead.
Oh yeah,
in Vegas. And it was weird because the mayor always has martinis and he comes out with showgirls and all that stuff. And he's like, well, I'm not going to say that'd be a good, dumping ground for bodies or whatever and all that. We're like, well, pretty much you're saying that. Like, what do you mean? Like, you know something about this. You clearly know.
By the way, I caught a bit of your conversation earlier. I think the answer to the question is you're dead before you know it.
Oh, yeah.
You're dead before you hit bottom. But can you just imagine the water goes down, we find one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
And you can just read the expression on his face. He's saying, fuck.
Yeah. He's saying, fuck on the way down.
Yeah, or that.
Yeah. Unless you have some sick bastard that also poured concrete down his throat before he got
that would be sick.
Oh man,
that would be sick. You also raised the interesting point. This is kind of this is the sketch comedy version of the moment. How heavy that thing is once the concrete sets. I could just imagine two schmoes are sent out there, throw that guy overboard, take him out, throw him on. They can't do it.
Yeah,
because they put him in concrete too soon. They got to bust him out of the concrete, hang him over the side, and wait for the concrete to reset or something.
Yeah. Like, I mean, because none of the bosses, Al Capone ain't taking his ass out there and doing that. If you watch The Sopranos,
it's not a boss job. That's right.
Tony Soprano ain't going out there and doing that. You have low-level guys who are trying to work their way up, and you're sitting there and it's like so much shit can go wrong. Like, you know, the rope's not tied tight enough. You're trying to throw this guy over or the person over and they're just hitting you in the head and you're just oh shit. And it's like, it's probably a small boat. Like literally, like it could literally be like a Benny Hill scene that ends up happening. And then finally they throw him over and like, oh, Jesus Christ, we finally got him over the side. And then by the time it all happens, you realize that the concrete broke and you see that the guy swimming
and
down.
He floats back up. What do we have to do to keep this guy down?
Yeah.
Why won't you die?
Yeah. Why won't you
Why would you die? Did you talk about the ship they found, the boat they found?
No, the article didn't have anything about the boat.
I thought that was going to be your lead. Yeah, they found an LST, that's a World War II landing craft. Wow. Either of the type or actually one of the boats that landed on the Normandy beach on D-Day.
Really?
It had an afterlife, you know, in retirement. Somebody bought it and put it on the lake thinking, I don't know what they were thinking. Going to be a party boat or
we're putting stripper poles on this bitch tonight.
And at a certain point, they realized, well, that didn't work. And they just basically pulled the plug on it, sent it to the bottom.
Oh, man. And
189 feet below sea level or below the water level, now revealed. That's how much water has gone out of that hole.
Well, it's funny because me with my like concussion-ridden brain from wrestling, when I first heard Lake Mead, I'm like, oh, mead. Like, I like to drink mead. Like, it's a whole lake with mead. Like,
not a lake of mead.
Some Viking-looking guy drank the whole lake. That's why it's getting lower. Like, but no, like with the comedy stuff, you said how easy it was back then. What were some of the easier ones that you had in the beginning, like that you shot out a script to and they were like, and it came right through?
This is when I was just getting into the business. We were just getting the first off-network syndicated sitcoms.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll remember these stuff like The New Gidget, Charles in Charge.
I've heard of Charles in Charge.
Yeah. God, the first thing I wrote for was something called The New Love American Style. And it was like a 10-minute sketch, one of 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
About people falling in love. And I pitched, I don't know, something super dumb. Love and the Answering Machine. It was all about people missing messages on the answering machine. And I wrote it and they changed a couple of lines. And I was all like, why did you change my lines? And some older writer took me aside and he said, your script will never get changed less than this one here. And that's just because we don't give a damn. Okay, fair enough. But that off-network syndication, that market was good for me. Married with Children, I wrote for that in its first season.
Did you hear, is the rumor true? I heard that they're trying to bring that back. But I
wouldn't be surprised. I can't imagine. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
Oh, yeah.
Except that it's a Sony property, and maybe Sony's not done selling it to other countries. Because not only did I write for the American version, I led the writing staff of the Russian version and developed it in Bulgaria.
Nice.
So under the Sony flag. Wouldn't go back to Russian now, but
now with the writing for that, now doing it in Bulgaria and Russia, like, is it pretty much the same writing, or does the humor and some of the writing have to be different because of the different like cultures over there?
Yeah, the joke needs to match the culture. Okay. I have a whole formula for this. If the joke translates directly, you just translate it. If it needs cultural context, you change the cultural context. If you can't make that change work, you just throw it out and put something else in.
Okay.
For Married with Children, as an example, this is an easy one. We know that in the American version, Al is a fan of football, gridiron, right?
Yeah.
A pigskin. Simple enough to say, okay, he's a fan of football. And instead of that one glorious high school touchdown that he caught, it's the one glorious hat trick game that he had. So it's just changing one sport for another in that case. Okay. But it's a challenge. It's a challenge for me. I have to learn the culture, or at least know enough about it to know what's funny, which is really not that hard. Because, you know, I understand the math of humor. I know why a joke will work. I know what the truth and pain of a moment is. But I'll give you an example from Russia. This speaks to both truth and pain and cultural problems. They wrote a joke that was straight up anti-Semitic.
Okay.
And I'm Jewish. And I said, guys, you know, this is a really anti-Semitic joke. And I need you to know that I'm Jewish. And they said, yeah, so? I said, well, what if I were gay? Would you? And you wrote a gay joke. And I said, "Почему нет," which means why not? Why wouldn't I bash you to your face? So that's just a little, that's a piece of cultural information I got to have if I'm going to operate effectively there.
Yeah.
Plus a thick skin, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, that's almost like, would you say that with almost any comedy property, whether it's stand-up, TV, movies, you kind of like have to go into it with the mentality of having thick skin? Because I feel like today, like we have a lot of local comedians that we have come on the show and they'll help us guest co-host, and those guys are just balls to the wall all the time.
They say some
and,
things
yeah,
that I'm like, oh my.
It just, it sucks though, because sometimes, like, you know, the comedians will go out and they're just like, you know, it's a show. Like, you know, yes, we're telling these jokes. Like, what's your interpretation?
Yeah. Where's the line? How do I find it? How do I walk it? Yeah. Happens that this is something I wrote about in my latest book, The Little Book of Stand-Up. In this context, you want to operate effectively in challenging social spaces, in woke culture, and you're trying to figure out how to do it. You start by asking yourself, what's my goal as a comedian? Is my goal to lift up or to knock down? Now, both of those goals are legitimate goals in comedy. They have, in the history of comedy, that's what comedy does. It makes people feel better about their circumstances. It lifts up, but it also attacks what needs to be attacked using the particular tool or weapon of comedy to make it safe to attack. You know, we're going to mock the king. King needs mocking. Yeah. Things need to be said. So comedy has a legitimate role in being iconoclastic, breaking things down. So you start by asking yourself, as a stand-up comic, how do I want to use my power? Do I want to use my power to lift up or knock down? Mm. And once you know where you are on that, then it's easy to look at your material and figure out what belongs and what doesn't. Because if it's a lifter-upper, if you're a lifter-upper, you're not going to tell knockdown humor. And so you set your own limits around the question, what's lifting up versus what's knocking down. If you're a knocker downer and you know it, then when you cross lines, break taboos, push the limits, you're just serving your vision as you understand it. Then that creates safe space for you to operate. How is that for an answer?
And when you said
I understood it, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, yay.
Good. I thought a lot of George Carlin. George Carlin would do that. And, you know, that documentary that they released on him just recently is amazing. Just
love that.
Amazing. And, you know, it's the kind of thing that he was a very, like, political, you know, driven comedian, but he would sit there and he would think of a way to, as you said, to build that up and then boom, pound that point right in, and everybody's laughing, but they're hearing him, and it holds up today. And that's the crazy part about it.
I think the interesting part of Carlin's story is when he turned on, let's call a spade, dropped a lot of acid, and found his true self.
Oh, yeah.
Because he spent a lot of years being what we might uncharitably call being a hack comic. Yeah. It's not that his humor wasn't good, it's just that it served no purpose. And once he realized, hey, this isn't going to work for me unless I'm serving my purpose, that's when he became a comedian who happened to be named George Carlin and turned into George Carlin, who happened to be a comedian.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening, who are pursuing the stand-up comedy path, it's something to think about. What purpose are you serving? You might never have asked yourself that question, but once you ask that question, it creates all kinds of possibilities and opens up all kinds of doors for exploration that you really don't arrive at if you just try to keep it on the surface.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing, like with our show, and I, you know, if you did any research on it or anything like that, when we created this show, my whole interpretation was, you know, I stopped doing wrestling. I needed to do something, you know, entertainment wise to keep myself, you know, busy. But also I looked at it as Well, look at it today. There's so many political podcasts. There's so many murder podcasts. There's so many this. There's so many that. And me and him were just like, let's just do a podcast, have on cool people, and be ourselves. And, you know, kind of give somebody, you know, we were a COVID baby. This podcast was a COVID baby. So during COVID, it's like, it's giving someone a release. They get to hear from a cool person, but also the show is very unpredictable. You never know what's going to happen week to week because we have so many different guests. We just pull out so many different things that it's just like, okay, let's just strap up and just talk about whatever. We do very little, you know, I try not to do many notes. We just try to be us and just have like a real conversation, kind of like, you know, we're sitting at the bar talking at the bar and we just met each other for the first time. You know, that's the whole thing, and throwing games and just let everybody have a great time. So,
There's an expression that I heard when I first heard or invented, now that I can think about it, when I first came to Hollywood: keep giving them you until you is what they want.
Yeah. And you always want to be you to your truest form. And even when I wrestled, like every character that I did and every character I played, a part of me was in that character. I always made, like, you know, if I was a bad guy, certain things I would say or I would do would be like, hey, this is stuff, you know, you're seeing part of me, like my attitude and how mad I am is sometimes how I get mad in real life. You know, that when I was a comedy wrestler, the comedy stuff that I would do, it's like, these are the cheesy little cheeky things that I think are funny, and it's working. And, you know, you just gotta, you know, you learn after a while what works and what doesn't. And when we have guests on, we're good with figuring out, hey, what can we talk about with certain guests and what we can't. And like normally within like the first like couple of minutes, we're like, okay, you know, this is what the vibe in the room is. We'll, you know, just do this or do that. And then sometimes the games come out and then it's a whole complete 180. We're like, oh man, like these people are having a kick with the games and all that stuff. Like, you know, it's completely different. But
well, what do you make of me on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being completely straight and 10 being total freak? Where do you put me? And maybe for those who are only listening and not watching, it should be mentioned that I'm mid-60s, completely bald, yet wearing tie-dye, and sitting in front of a screen background that's art of my own creation. Yeah. And it's pretty freaky. You know what, man?
I know that like actual like backdrop. Like I thought, you know how on Zoom you can have like
right. It looks like it's a
digital backdrop.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work digitally because there's too much, you know, flanging noise.
I would say, honestly, if I could give you a number, because we haven't gotten into the thick of stuff, like we haven't gotten into any of our like little games or like our little tweaky stuff that we do here, I would say 5, just dead even at 5, because we don't know yet. We don't know what.
Okay, fair enough. Let's keep an eye on that metric, and maybe we can do an analytic post podcast survey and find out, maybe figure out what the people think. They can vote. How much of a freak is John Vorhaus? Because I think I could play it. I can push both directions.
Yeah, and what we're going to actually get into another news article. So you may have heard of this recently.
Bring it on.
A man on a Southwest flight reportedly airdropped his dick to all passengers on Saturday, leading the police waiting to escort him off the plane until his arrival. Now, I've used the airdrop. Have you ever airdropped, Matt?
No.
So you can I airdrop photos to Jess all the time. So you can basically select the photos, airdrop, hit Jess. It drops automatically into her photo gallery. I never knew you could do that to phones that you're not connected to. Like Jess's phone pops up. I didn't know that you could airdrop to whatever phones were around. So this dude,
whether they want it or not.
Yeah. So this dude snapped a picture of his junk and airdropped it to the whole. And to me, like when I heard that, I thought it was hilarious. I was like, this dude fucking had the balls to just be like, all right, this is going to be funny. He probably was like, hey, Rufus.
Hey, watch this.
This is going to be hilarious. Watch this. And then the next thing you know, he's being hemmed up. It says, in a now viral TikTok, user Daddy Strange 333 addressed the man as Larry. And he is seen.
Listen, I already do not like the username.
Yeah, Daddy Strange. Okay. I would like it better if it was Strange Daddy, like Daddy Strange. But it says it's seen getting reprimanded by the user and flight attendant for allegedly sharing a graphic photo with all passengers, especially as kids sat behind him. So that's where the line kind of gets drawn there. Because imagine if like you're sitting there and little Johnny, like his mom and dad.
What's this?
Yeah. Mom, why is there a hot dog on my screen? But
first of all, I just was on a plane yesterday.
Yeah.
Watching The Sopranos on a fairly big screen, seatback screen, plenty of cutaways to the bada bing.
Yeah.
So, no shortage of tits and ass within perfect plain view of any kid who happened to be walking down the aisle. Yeah. So maybe maybe the airlines have decided we can't control them. We might as well just let them do what they want.
A well-worded apology letter. That's what he needs. But at that point,
I don't know. Listen, being a mid-60-year-old, being a mid-60-year-old man that's bald wearing a tie-dye shirt, I don't think I'd say anything to you either. I'm like, now I'm not saying anything to him.
No, not gonna
let him go.
Yeah. Like, there might be something going on. Like, we don't know. But I mean, that's the point. At that point, like, if I'm sitting there on the plane and I get airdropped a random dick, at that point, do you rate it? Like, do you give them a dick at that point? Like, I mean,
send it back with emojis.
Yeah. You just send back emojis. You just go, or what is it? It'd be like what is it when someone doesn't like something? 1 out of 10 will not recommend, or you give 10 out of 10 will recommend.
Not for me.
Yeah, not for me. I'm sorry, but this dick isn't the kind of
he
dick
was
that
or you text back, meet me in the bathroom in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I like what I see.
Yeah, he just said to
wink at him.
Maybe that was his play. First of all, I think that conversation actually begins. He says to his friend, "Here, hold my beer," because drinking has to be involved in that.
Yeah,
and maybe that's his play. Maybe he just figures if he cast his bread upon the water, it will return multifold. He's hoping someone will look at it and say, "Yeah, that looks good to me."
Yeah,
and let's get it on. Let's join the Mile High.
I would like to have that.
I was going to say that he wants to join the Mile High Club. Hey, anybody.
I would like to have that inside me. Like, he gets the response. Yeah.
That would be a response
in 5 minutes, and then you see the pilot walk by everybody and head towards the bathroom, and you're just kind of like, "Who's fucking flying the plane? Like, why is this happening?"
Don't worry, it's a Tesla plane. We put it on auto drive.
Yeah, it flies itself.
It flies itself.
I mean, honestly, with that, is that where we're going in the world? Like, we're gonna have a plane. Like, I don't even trust a car that drives itself, because I've had Google Maps tell me to take road exits that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, if this is a car that's driving itself, that thing is driving your ass off the side. It's kind of like The Office with Michael Scott. It's the reverse of when he wouldn't listen to his navigator and ended up in a body of water.
Sure. That's one of those problems that I respond to this way. I'm old enough that I won't live for that to be a problem for me. Thank God. And there's a whole series of issues like that. I'm going to die off before this one gets to me. You will never catch me not driving in a self-driving car. I promise you that.
Could you imagine, like, going down in a self-riding airplane, the last thing you received was a fucking dick?
Oh yeah, the plane's going down, and like, you're getting ready to call your husband or wife, and you look at your phone, and there's just this random man's dick on the phone, and you're just kind of like, "This is how I die. This is the last thing I see before this."
On that same line of thought, what's worse than a passenger airdropping his dick pic to everyone? I think what's worse is the pilot airdropping a dick pic to everyone.
Yeah, he just taps the co-pilot. Watch this. They're never going to guess it was me.
Yes. First, hold my beer.
Yeah. Here, hold my beer as he's flying. Have you ever seen Air Disasters? Oh, they have shit like that all the time on the show. Air Disasters, where like the pilot was drunk or some shit, and they're trying to figure out why a plane went down. It's like, because the dude was clearly drinking like 12 beers before he got on and flew the plane. Right. So what we're going to do real quick is we're going to get into, we started doing Happy Hour Pod trivia. So I just kind of go through and just look up random little tidbits, and we play trivia. Now, I don't know, John, if you drink or not. Of course, you're always welcome to drink on the show if we do, but you don't have to do this part if you don't want to, but we're going to do it that if you get the answer right, we'll drink. But if
We're
you are
already
drinking
but-
and you get the answer wrong, then you would drink. So if you don't want to do that part, that's perfectly fine. So
I have a can in my hand. I'm not saying what's in it.
all right. So the first answer is how many
Question.
original
The first question.
yes, I have beer in my hand.
It's Jeopardy style.
Yes, it's Jeopardy. So the first question is how many were in the original group of Power Rangers? What number were the original group of Power
I
Rangers?
should know this. I pitched to that show.
Yes,
I'm going to say 5.
it is 5. All right. So
Drink.
drink.
You guys are going down a slippery slope. I'm a pretty trivial guy.
So 5. So that of course is pink, yellow, blue, red, and black. So
What I loved about that show was they put helmets on the actors so they could dub it in any language they wanted to and have to worry about lip
right. They
matches.
recycled so much content except for when he made the movie.
It's pretty genius.
And then so here we go. Question 2. This is a multiple choice. What is the number 1 most eaten food in America? A, pizza, B, hot dogs, C, ice cream, or D, burgers?
What was the last one?
Burgers.
Burgers. Pizza, hot dogs, ice cream, or burgers. I'm going to go back to my SAT logic on this one. I see that pizza, hot dogs, and burgers are all things that you might eat as a main. And so it's a toss up for them. Looks like ice cream is the dark horse candidate because it's one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
I'm going ice cream.
You're going to go with ice cream. The answer is burgers. It's the most eaten, consumed in America.
All right.
I think it has
Cheers.
been 5 years in a row. All right. So here you go. This is more TV type stuff. What year did Everybody Loves Raymond premiere?
It's another one I should know. Let me think it through. Because I worked on, I was in Russia making Married with Children at the same time they were making the Russian version of Everybody Loves Raymond. And I don't know if you know it. There's a documentary called Exporting Raymond that follows Phil Rosenthal around as he makes it's hilarious. It's wonderful. I'm actually in that documentary for a heartbeat because there's a party scene and I'm in the background in a party scene.
He's just sitting there dropping a dick pic to everybody at the party.
To everybody. That's right.
I'm airdropping.
Airdropping. This was well before the time of airdrops, I'll tell you that.
You just went.
So that was I was making. That was 2007-ish, 2008-ish, and Raymond had been off the air for a while. He came along after Friends and after Seinfeld, 1996. That's is that right?
Yeah,
oh, drink, you mofos. I wish I'd actually been good enough to be Googling it while we're talking, but I'm not that good. I'm not that good. I derived that using logic and misdirection.
That was pretty good. You narrowed it
and we
down,
got a cool
like,
little
really
story
good.
with that. That's why we like doing stuff like this because of the cool.
I'm a value-added game show contestant.
All right. So question 4. How many confirmed victims did Ted Bundy kill? This is multiple choice. A, 40, B, 366, C, 20, or D, 115.
Wow. All right, let's break it down. First of all, we love Mark Harmon as Ted Bundy.
Yes.
The best role of his life with that fake cast and that creepy white van. I'm throwing out the high number. It's just ridiculous. Not that it's not possible that he killed that many, but confirmed. Mm-hmm. I would say a confirmed. I'm assuming by confirmed you mean Bundy says I did it, and there's evidence that he did.
So
it's not just
said he did it.
Not just his boastful boasting. So if that's the case, we can throw out the high number for sure. We might want to hold on to the second high number because it's so wrong that it might be right. I figure if the answer is the low one, 20, it's like, who cares? It's the low number. It's not as impressive as any of the other numbers. Why did you bother coming up with this question? Or maybe I'm thinking if I'm designing the question, I'm not going to make, unless I'm using double reverse psychology. I better come to an answer soon. What are my choices again?
A, 40, B, 366, C, 20, or D, 115?
I'm going 40.
It is 20.
Ah,
It's 20.
see,
Now
I
with
outthought
that-
myself.
Yeah, with that, I got one. I thought 115 would be kind of close to it because he confessed to 30, but there's also 36 other suspected. So when you do that 20, 30, 36, like you get a higher number right there. So
Well, let's both drink.
there we go. Boom. All right. So
Congress should work so well.
this is an easier one. Who voices Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story?
Oh, I know this one, and it's going to be Tim Allen.
Yes, it is indeed Tim Allen. All right. So what year was the first bra invented? What year do you think the first bra was invented?
Oh, it's not multiple choice?
No.
1899.
No, but you're not too far off. 1914 was when the first bra was patented.
Okay. All right.
So,
I'll drink to that.
True or false? The biggest breast size in the world, confirmed by Guinness World Records, is 70 inches.
True.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, it has to be true. I play a game called True Fact, Bar Fact, which proposes there are two classes of reality: things that are true and things that sound true in bars late at night.
Yeah, once you're drunk enough, it's actually
right. So that'd be a good one for True Fact, Bar Fact.
Okay. Yeah. And all right. So we have three more. How many Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies did Michael Bay produce?
God, I don't care about that so passionately on so many levels. So I'm just going to drink. I'm not even going to guess.
The answer is 2. He produced 2 Ninja Turtle movies.
Two movies that you don't care about.
Number 9, true or false? There is a sex position called soap or grope.
Soap or grope?
Yes.
I don't really think that should be the question. I think the question should be, what is soap or grope? Because that's, again, like True Fact, Bar Fact. If it's not true, it might as well be true, and it damn well should be true. So I'm going to say true.
It is true. It is true.
Yeah, but soap or grope?
Yeah.
I'm saying that a power bottom plays a prominent role in that position, no matter what it is.
It does, and it involves a shower. You are also in the shower, all soaped up.
You think?
All right. Answer 10. Final question 10. Final question. What was the show that featured Ryan Stiles, Wayne Brady, and Drew Carey?
Whose line is it anyway?
Yes, whose line?
Whose line? Whose line? Great show. The British version of it is even better.
Yeah. Amazing show. So
I was also going to bring up with the dick pic thing. You could send it to everybody, and you could play whose dick is it anyway?
Oh yeah, airdrop it. It's like
because everyone has to guess whose dick it was.
How did they know whose dick it was? That's the thing. Like, was he gloating about it? Like, was he just like, yeah, that was
like a
my dick.
Murder mystery.
Yeah, it's like a murder.
Who sent me this?
The air marshals greeted every male passenger coming off the plane.
Yeah. All right, pull it out.
Drop your pants. Let's see what you got in there.
Let's go in here. And so what we're going to do is, since we already did the trivia, we're going to go ahead and get into some of our other games. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into Incoherent. So Incoherent.
Wait, before you get into that, have I moved on the freak scale?
Yes. You moved up to about a 7.
Oh yeah. All right.
So Incoherent, pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to show a card on the screen, and you need to try to guess the card to see or sound it out to see what it says. So it's in drunken lingo. So let me just go ahead and get
okay.
And there's hints. So if you need a hint, let us know. We actually did a whole entire episode where we brought back 30 guests and did a whole show with just this, and it was a Royal Rumble type thing. So what do you think that says?
Madison Beer. Trying to think. I'm using my English to drunk translator here. Madison Beer. beer. Matt is some beer. Matt is some beer. That's my guess.
One of the hints is singer.
Singer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a person.
It's a person.
Matt. I might not know who the singer is.
I don't
know who the
If
singer is.
it's anybody from the 21st century,
And it
it's
says
doubtful that I know the
our
singer.
celebrity crush, and in
Maddie-
parentheses, hi,
Maddie's-
Madison.
Madison Beer.
Madison. Yeah, that's
Got
it.
it.
Madison Beer.
Now we're gonna have to look up who that is because I don't have a clue.
Madison Beer. Madison Beer. All
All
right.
right. So there's that. So we're going to go ahead and admit Ray in real quick. So we're going to take a break from our Incoherent game because we're going to admit Ray. We're going to do a new segment. It's pretty much called Ray Cooks All Over the Multiverse. And pretty much Ray is a friend of mine that I knew through pro wrestling. He's in a wheelchair and he's kind of a hit on Facebook with making these weird meals, and pretty much everybody guesses what they are. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. I'm great. This is exciting.
So Ray, pretty much I told all the guys, Desert Storm, Jason Drake, I told them that I would start doing this on the show because you make a lot of weird shit and nobody ever knows what it is. And I'm like, so we're going to start showing it on the podcast and trying to guess what it is. And then you're going to tell us what it is. So
sure. Yeah, I'm down.
All right. So let me find it first because I took the picture earlier. Oh, all right. So I see where it is. It's right here. So let me just click on that. And then we're going to get on that. And then John, you're going to help us try to figure out exactly what the hell that is. So let's go ahead and get it pulled up. So here's the first one. This was one of the early ones that Ray did. So this is the meal right here. And it looks like to me, like, and you make everything, I believe, in an air fryer.
Oh,
so taquitos.
Yeah.
That's taquitos with, is that cheese? What is it? Is that cheese?
It looks like taquitos.
Okay. So let me explain. So it is what you just said with cheese, with the air fryer. Now, this was still me learning how to use the air fryer. Maybe I still need to learn some more. But so this was one of my first time I moved out of my house, and I've been watching these YouTube videos on how to cook, and I thought I could do better.
Yeah.
So I made this.
So
I was really proud of it.
Are those the taquitos? Did you buy those yourself, or are those the ones from 7-Eleven? Did you go to 7-Eleven and just jack a bunch of taquitos and you're like, I'm just gonna read?
No.
It looks like you took cheese and like you spilled the cheese on top of the taquitos, because the one has like the cheese completely on it, and then the other one looks like you kind of missed a little bit, and the trajectory was just the cheese just kind of flapped down on top of it, or you may have dropped it on the floor and then picked it up and just laid it on the taquitos.
Tried to be fancy.
Okay, so these are from Walmart. Everything I get is usually from Walmart. So there was all right. So this was, I don't know how to explain it, but I plopped it on there and I just put it in the air fryer. And, I'm still learning what degrees are. So I think I did this for 400 for like 8 minutes.
Oh, they're like well done. They're like black inside.
Yes. Listen. I want to make sure that I'm going to be healthy. All right. If it's not burnt, it's not good. That's what my slogan is.
All right, now John, if you could, looking at that dish, if you could name that, if you were to start a restaurant and that was one of the delicacies for that restaurant, what would you call that meal?
Okay, I'm starting a Mexican Italian fusion restaurant called Signor Luigi's, and this is my chiquilla lasagna. It's chiquillas with a lasagna topping. It is chiquilla lasagna.
I like it.
So what do you think, Matt? What would you say that?
I already said taquitos and throw up.
I feel like that's Mexican pigs in a blanket, but a horrible rendition of Mexican pigs in a blanket, because we don't know what's in the taquitos, but really the cheese kind of wraps around those. So
and you have to respect the paper plate.
Yes,
because presentation is everything. Yes. And just as in the finest restaurants, you have matched the cutlery and the dishware to the dish. So kudos.
That's actually really
Chef
cool.
Ray.
Did.
And by the way, if it ain't burnt, it ain't good. That's the name of your truck.
And also, let's not forget the finger that's also in the photo right here in the bottom right corner.
Yes.
You can clearly see the photo that's in the finger that might be pointing at this. Like, what the fuck did I just make?
Well, that's because they call him Ray One Take. Sorry, I couldn't come up with your last name, Ray. I'm sorry, but
I know, it's okay.
They call him old Sakalis.
Sakalis. But that's not what I go by. I have a persona.
Yes, your wrestling persona. Yes.
No. In the cooking realm, it's called cooking with Ray. That's what I go by. I have a cooking. There's no G. There's no K. So this has been evolving. So what you saw was the beginning. I did it from Facebook, and then I've been tagging Brian and everybody else.
Oh man, dude! Like some of the more recent ones are insane. I cannot wait to get to those. I want to start from the beginning and build up and do these with all of our guests and have our guests name them. Then that way it also kind of pops those guys a little bit. But Ray, what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to do this every week. So what we're going to do, we're going to let you cut out of here because I know you got stuff going on and all that. So we'll be back, of course, next week right here on Facebook Live, probably around the same time with Ray, and we're going to be, doing another delicacy from Ray of what he's made in his air fryer. So Ray, thanks, man. We're going to go ahead and let you bolt out of here. And what we're going to do is we're going to get back to Incoherent. So we're going to go ahead and get this ready right here. And then the next card for Incoherent is this right here. So what do you think that is, John?
Morning sex.
That's
okay. Look, all right, you got that right away. So now your freak,
your freak level when like
you jumped up on that one.
It's like on a cartoon, like you know how it goes, and it's like
I pinged the needle.
You caught that one way too fast.
Yeah. And the hints are great on these too. Like the one hint is up and ready, and then the other is getting up by getting off. So that's morning sex. And then of course there's a third one. So let's go ahead and pull up the third one, and we'll rock and roll with that one. So, and some people, they either do really good at this or they fail miserably at this. So here's this one. So what do you think that one is? That one's that looks like it's a little bit easier.
I got it. I'm just stalling now. It's like, let me see if I can figure this out. This is another band I'm only vaguely aware of and could not identify a single song by the Jonas Brothers.
It is the Jonas Brothers. And what's funny is we have had guests that will sit there and literally stare at that and go, I have no idea
others
what that says.
Look, you need to understand, I live in California where a lot of people have vanity plates and they can only have 8 characters. So they jump through all kinds of hoops to come up with something that sounds like something. And if I'm on the road and I see one of those, I don't stop until I figure it out.
Yeah.
Or run into them, one or the other.
And what we're going to do real quick, of course, before John came on with us, we shouted out our newest featured beer, which is Victoria from Cerveceria Modelo, Mexico. So shout out to Victoria. This is our featured beer right now. And last week we finished up with our current featured shot. So now we are going to go back to the Hartley VSOP brandy. So we went from one extreme to another extreme because we had a lot of stuff that was left over, and I'm like, we need to start blowing this stuff out. And it's still not the worst we've ever had. Like, no offense, Hartley, it's good, but it's kind of rough. It's kind of rough to get through. And that gin that we had, I'll never forget that gin that we had. God, that was awful.
I believe you could probably,
if I could offer a suggestion to you, I saw your ads, and I know you have sophisticated and well-heeled advertisers, people with a lot of money and potent organizations behind them. You should charge them more for your hooch because you're working the wrong end of the scale there, brother.
There we go. All right.
Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, I can't believe I said that.
Oh my
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not watching but listening, they just chugged full like juice glasses of vile hooch.
Oh.
And now I have to take over the show because they just passed out.
All right.
Turns out that brandy was laced with fentanyl.
Yes.
And they're both flatlined right now.
Oh, so have you ever played Cards Against Humanity?
I have never played Cards Against Humanity.
Okay, so we do it a little bit differently on the show because we can't actually have physical cards in front of you. So we call it Cards Against Humanity Roulette. So what we're going to do is we're going to read off a face card. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick a number between 1 and 6 that you feel is your lucky number.
4.
It's going to randomly answer that card. So
okay,
we're going to pick 4. So the first card is, believe it or not, Jim Carrey can do a dead-on impression of blank. So what's 4?
Picked 4.
So 4 is, believe it or not, Jim Carrey can do a dead-on impression of a bird that dies. So are you satisfied with that, or do you want to rebuttal and pick a different number?
What is my goal? Am I judging
Just
whether
to see
that's
if you can pick like whatever you think is the funniest card out of them.
Oh, well, there's got to be something funnier than that because I didn't laugh at all. 3.
All right. So, believe it or not, Jim Carrey can do a dead-on impression of stapling a butterfly to a cow. I could see.
I'm satisfied with that.
Yes,
I'm satisfied with that image. You had me at stapling, and then you had me at stapling a butterfly, and you had me again at stapling a butterfly to a cow.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and add the remainders of that. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So now we have 10, and this has 2 answers. So this one is, and the Academy Award for blank goes to blank. Choose 2 numbers. What do you think would be 2 numbers that you
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
7 and 8.
So
that's actually pretty good. I like that.
All right. So now, mind you, Cards Against Humanity is completely off the rails of a game. So it says the Academy Award for the King of the Jews goes to racial profiling. Now, are you satisfied with both of those?
No, I'm that tries too hard.
Tries too hard.
So do you want to?
I'll hold on to King of the Jews.
Okay.
But throw back racial filing and take 1.
1. All right.
It's a long one.
So now it is, and the Academy Award for the King of the Jews goes to hiking up a hillside covered in bear semen, yelling, "I am the queen of the forest."
Well, as that is intended to be somebody's name, I think it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, people do come up with inventive names for their children, but I would love to be on the crystal meth ride that arrived at that name.
Yeah, and somewhere in that was Elon Musk and somebody else. I was like, I wonder if these will get chosen. Like they were around somewhere, but no, that just that makes up for everything. And John, of course, do you have like you talked about that you have a newest book out? So out of all the shows that you've written lines for and did scripts for, is there any one line that sticks out that is your favorite, like just your absolute favorite, that every time you think about it and you just kind of chuckle to yourself?
It just makes me laugh. There are so many. I have to tell you, my wife and I have an agreement, which is to say she has an instruction and I have an agreement that I can tell a joke as many times as I want to other people, but as soon as I use it in a script, I can't tell it to anybody ever again. I feel that's draconian. I don't like it at all. So I will use this line. I'm sure I used it somewhere, but I use it all the time in real life. My wife and I were together for 17 years before we got married. This is true. Somebody said, "Is the sex better now that you're married?" I said, "Well, yeah, because we waited." So, oh, wait. I got a better line. Even better and more to your point. I did an uncredited rewrite on, get this, Friday the 13th, part 10.
Ah, nice.
Jason,
I'm a huge Friday the 13th fan.
Jason X. It's the one where Jason goes into space.
Yeah.
And they flew me up to Toronto and they stuck me in a hotel room and they said, do something with this. And I did the best I could with it, but mostly they threw out what I wrote. Not because it lacked quality, but politics, let's just say, doesn't matter. The point is, I wrote one joke that made it all the way through, and I'll stand by this. You could put it on my gravestone. I'd be so happy with it. A woman is being pulled out through a hole in the skin of the spaceship. She's being drawn out into outer space, and she's holding on to something, and the wind is pulling her out. She's about to let go, and she says, "This sucks on so many levels." I always like that one.
Yeah, and that made my night because I love Friday the 13th. Actually, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get a whole like Friday the 13th montage done up my arm and onto my shoulder and all that, just various different stuff. But no, I mean, is there any project that you had that was like you kind of considered it your baby? Like you were like, oh man, like, you know, this was the best thing I've done. And of course, you know, you love all of your work. Like me, I'm the same way.
I
like,
fall in love with it.
You know,
I made 2 television shows in Nicaragua in partnership with a social action group that was trying to meet the educational needs and social needs of young people, poor people, victims of abuse, victims of sexual discrimination. The one-liner I used is, we're trying to help the young people of Nicaragua think for themselves and practice safe sex. And having made those shows, if I'm not there, I'm not the only one, obviously, because everybody, you know, big crews, but if I'm not there to guide the writers, that show doesn't get made and that good does not get done. So I feel like I did a really worthwhile thing, devoting my time and energy to those 2 TV shows that time. Of the books I've written, my favorite is my best novel, according to me, called Lucy in the Sky. It's a coming of age story of a 15-year-old boy in Milwaukee in 1969. Wants to be a hippie in the worst way. Looks around his environment and he knows there's no hippies as far as the eye can see. But one day into his life comes this very hot, very sexy teenage girl hippie. And the good news is she'll teach him everything she knows. The bad news is she's his cousin.
The
good news is things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for a fun, light novel ride through the coming of age times of the 1960s, Lucy in the Sky by John Vorhaus. Ask for it by name.
And of course, all of your books are
real quick. So I don't get flagged on YouTube.
We haven't got flagged yet. We're not going to get.
Is it their second cousin, third cousin? I mean, there's leeway in something.
Oh, that reminds me of a joke I came up with just the other day. I was thinking to myself, I'm walking around the world, I'm thinking to myself, you know, when you think about it, all men are my brothers. And if that's true, then probably it's also true that all women are my sisters. And I thought, except the ones I want to fuck. They're more like distant cousins.
At this point, it's like Lucy in the Sky, the XXX porn parody. There
you go.
Well, judging from the ads you were running earlier, you know, you guys know a thing or two about porn parodies.
Well, our show has a lot of like, we have a lot of like Howard Stern type guests, like a lot of adult film stars, and teamskeet.com that they you know, send us all kinds of stuff. They promote us, you know, so they're like, hey, would you mind running a trailer for one of our things? I'm like, as long as you send us a safe for work one that won't get flagged on YouTube, I don't care. Like, you know, whatever.
So
like,
that's what they came up with.
Yeah. So that's what they sent us. And I was like, okay. Like, you know, if we have an adult film star guest, we'll run it like in the middle of the show. If we have a guest that's not an adult film star, we try to run it before the guest comes on
and is deeply, deeply offended / intrigued.
Oh man. And John, of course, all of your books are available on Amazon.
Amazon.com. And also through my website, johnvorhaus.com. That's JOHNVORHAUS, hard to spell. But if you Google a comic toolbox, you can usually find your way around to me. and try a little harder. You'll find it.
And
if you buy the books directly from me, I send them out personally and sign them, so that's fun.
Cool.
Fun
That's
for
cool.
me.
Cool.
And both digital and print versions are available. And some of my books, including Lucy, are available on Audible in awesome author narrated audio. That is, I did the narration myself, and those are really good listens. I say this, with all due false modesty, but at the end of Lucy in the Sky, not to spoiler it, but at the end of Lucy in the Sky, our hero goes on an acid trip, and and I wrote it in a meaningful way. Authentically. I've had that experience. I know a thing or two about it, but when I was doing the audio version of it, I said to myself, nobody who hasn't been experienced is going to read this right, because they won't understand really what the character is going through.
Now, I don't mean to cut you off, but now I need to get this book, because I am experienced in certain drugs. So yeah, now I got to go get that. Now.
Yeah.
Well, if you are, as I am, an aficionado of the tripping experience, the psychedelic experience in films and books, you'll get a lot of value out of that.
Yes.
When I say aficionado, I'm thinking about, there's a great tripping scene in the movie Hair, and there's a great one in the movie Across the Universe, and there are others. And it's always a challenge for the filmmaker. How do I make this resonant? I have to make it as real as I understand the experience to be, but I can't use the real reality of the psychedelic experience, because that all takes place in my head. So how can I express it in a way that people who haven't had that experience will understand?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna have to get the audio version, because I'm just gonna do drugs and just
I feel like the audio versions of books now, and you can, of course, all your books are available. Do you feel that the audio versions are starting to take off a little bit more?
No, there is a market for them, but I was an early entrant into the audiobook field, and I never really got much traction off it at all. Yeah, maybe it's just my books. I think maybe audiobooks are much more popular among hardcore consumers of genre fiction, like one after another mystery or romance or something like that. A lot of people don't read or can't read or are driving and they want to listen to a book. So yeah, there's a great amount of consumption of that, but at the end of the day, it's a fairly narrow way of consuming information through your ears. Just like consuming information through words is a narrow way, but it's time tested. My money is on the written word lasting longer than the audio version of anything.
Yeah, well, it's funny because my wife bought a Kindle that she's used one time, and then she just buys physical books, and I'm like, you bought a Kindle, right? Like, I don't. Yeah, it sits right next to her. It sits right next to her Apple computer that she bought with her stimulus money that she's used twice, and I'm just kind of like, they're just sitting.
Now it just sits on the bookshelf.
Now it is just an object. It is just an accent.
I don't know how you engage with your wife on those issues, but I would recommend that you follow this strategy. There's two ways of looking at the situation: her way and wrong.
Yes, that is exactly, you narrowed it down. Yes. Exactly, because every time I bring it up, if she could murder me with her, actually, she tried to kill me last night.
Oh, Jesus.
Like she was joking around, and like, since I wrestle, like, she always just like pretends to choke. But when she did it last night, like, she stuck her thumbs right up into here. I was like, ah! Oh. And like, she saw, and I was like, you try to murder me in front of the dogs.
What were you?
Like,
sure. That's what you guys.
Does she have a wrestling background too?
No, she does not.
Because it sounds like she was just putting a move on.
That's why she was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I'm like, you tried to kill me.
Kill me.
Has been watching those murder mystery movies.
Yes,
or shows,
yes, she watched a lot of those.
She's found a way to
shows.
kill a man.
I pull a lot of my stuff about, like, we had the one about John Wayne Gacy last week, and then Ted Bundy this week. A lot of that stuff is stuff that I retain from the shows that she watches. I'm just like, okay, cool, let's do that. And John, of course, we appreciate you coming on. You came on a little bit early. We're starting to run short on time. Is there anything coming up? Like, are there any shows coming up that you're going to be working on or that you want to work on? Like, is there anything that you always sat there and was like, man, I wish
a lot of shows coming up that I want to work on. Drop a dime. I'll be happy to pitch in. No, I don't really have much to talk about in that realm. Not really here for that. I hope that people will engage with my books. They'll get a lot out of them, especially people who are trying to make more of their creativity. And I'm always willing to, eager, enthusiastic to hear from people who have questions about creative process, want to do better, what they want to do well. That's kind of where I live. So I used to say the following as a joke. I define myself through service.
Okay.
But there's a singer named John Wesley Harding, and Harding. He wrote a song called "Your Jokes Will Become Your Reality," and I feel like that's what happened to me as I enter the golden years of my life. I really am in my way in service and happy to be there.
It's good.
And John, awesome. we thank you for coming on to the show. Of course, where can everybody at home find you? If they want to find your books, if they want to find you, reach out to you, shoot you some probably stupid ideas of, hey, look, man, I got it. You need to use this line in anything you write for, in case they want to do something like that. Where can everybody find you?
Or if somebody wants to send you a casual dick pic.
Yes. If they want to airdrop you a picture of their penis.
You guys, you've been giving me quiz questions all night. I'm going to give you one. This is from a work in progress called Trivia for Idiots, which postulates that in these politically correct times, no one wants to feel stupid about anything.
Yeah.
For example, this is just a warm-up question. In the movie Strangers on a Train, two-part question. In the movie Strangers on a Train, where did the protagonists meet, and what was their prior relationship?
Well, I'm going to say on a train.
Yes.
And they did not have a relationship before.
That's right, because
I was afraid I unscrewed the cap on this bottle. So I was like, I am drinking right now.
So I was going to say on a train and they were cousins, but
not so strange. So what two-part question? Okay. What common mark of punctuation might be found between my first name and my second name in, for example, an email addresses?
Oh, I have a Dundalk education.
Well,
I have a Baltimore education. I'm going to say a comma.
Any other guesses out there? What? Not a comma, but a
semicolon.
No. What ends a sentence?
A period.
Period. Okay, so let's just imagine inserting a period between my first and second name. Okay, John Vorhaus. That's part one. Part two. What is the most common email server for everybody today?
Google. Gmail. Yeah, Gmail.
Now, if you're clever enough and or sober enough to put those two pieces of information together, you can deduce my email address.
So john.vorhaus@gmail.com.
You got it. And awesome. By the way, it's Vorhaus rhymes with, well, never mind. It's easy to remember.
It rhymes with whorehouse.
Oh, you got it. You got it. I don't do a lot of stand-up, but when I do stand-up, I talk about my name. John Vorhaus rhymes with whorehouse. I'm sick of it. It's been that way all my life. As I've decided to change it. My new name, Vordello.
Rhymes with bordello.
Oh, people got to figure this shit out for themselves. You can't feed the audience. You got to leave them a puzzle to solve.
Hey,
because they got to work through the choices now. That house, brothel.
We will leave that one to the imagination because I had to give them something, because it's like I had to take that shot because of my dumb Baltimore education. And I was like, I guess it's a comma. I was sweating so hard that first question with the train, and I was like, wait, this makes a ton of sense that they'd never met before, and that.
Yeah, you're way overthinking it. You're just way overthinking it.
But I guarantee you can get people with that. I guarantee you.
I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could.
What's going on? And so what we're going to do, John, of course, thank you for being on the show. We will be back here right here on YouTube Live again next week. at 7:30 p.m. Our featured guest is adult film star Arietta Adams. Matt is very excited about that. He was talking a little bit beforehand. But John, we appreciate you coming on to the show. And would you be able to hang out for a second afterwards?
Sure.
Awesome. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here on YouTube Live, and we will see you, ladies and gentlemen, next week. All right. So end on that.